Hi, this is Rob with SDC International Shipping, General Manager of International Relocations, and I want to talk to you a little bit in this segment about Mexico, specifically relocations to Mexico and shipping your household goods and personal effects to Mexico. We've been doing this for over 20 years, and over the past few years, you might imagine, we've seen a tremendous uptick in that type of move in shipping to Mexico. And the reasons are probably obvious. You've got overall lower cost of housing in most cases, lower overall cost of living in most cases, great weather. There's something for everybody in terms of destination. You can have big city living, Mexico City, which is larger than New York City. Tropical, you want to go to Cabo or Playa del Carmen. There's so many tropical locations, or more historical and the historical colonial sites. A large expat population. So a lot of reasons. You probably know what they are if you're watching this. But the real point of this video is to talk about what I think you should consider and look for in a shipping company. What's important? What qualities and expertise must they possess in order to make this go smoothly? A lot of clients that I talk to are mistakenly they're mistaken in that they believe that shipping to Mexico is simple and very straightforward. It really isn't. The company that you work with has to really know the ins and outs and the paperwork and all of that, because there are a number of hurdles and potential pitfalls in moving things to Mexico. And if everything isn't handled correctly, in other words, the company that you're working with isn't expert at this type of thing, there can be delays and financial penalties and just a number of different things that you don't want. It's no good. So make it smooth, you want to work with a company that has a number of boxes you need to check, I believe. I'm going to go through those. And on the other side of that coin, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I believe should be red flags, things you want to maybe watch out for in a company that you are looking at to move your household goods to Mexico. So first, obviously, expertise and experience. We've been doing this over 20 years, as I mentioned. We really understand exactly how to make things happen at SDC. Some companies don't. So it's critically important with all the paperwork and all the legal aspects, from here to there, that everything, all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted, everything's really in order before anything gets to the border. Otherwise, there could be some significant troubles. You definitely don't want that. As I just alluded to and mentioned specifically the paperwork, there is a good deal of paperwork that has to be completed. It has to be completed the right way. So, for example, the Menaje de Casa, that's an inventory list that has to be completed in Spanish and approved prior to crossing the border. Failure to do that is going to be very problematic, and it also is going to be probably required somebody's going to want to see it along the way as well. So that's critically important. And again, you just want to work with a company that really understands all of these steps. Make sure that either you've done it or we've gotten involved and helped with it. But in any event, all the paperwork and the legal aspects and elements are covered so that everything's ready and can get to point B, your destination in Mexico, without a problem. Let's talk a little bit about reviews. When I say reviews, online reviews like Yelp or Google or Better Business Bureau, those are important. Those are really important. Go ahead and take a look at those. I don't have to spend too much time on it other than to say, as everyone knows, people are more likely to write a negative review by orders of magnitude than a good review. So it's okay if someone has a negative review here or there, but overall they should be 4 and hopefully 5-star reviewed company, and the vast preponderance of reviews should be very highly rated. So keep that in mind. That's something to look at. Next, does the company you're going to work with have a dedicated support and logistics team internally? That's critically important. Anyone can just book a job and walk away. At SDC International Shipping, we have an internal dedicated support and logistics team that handles everything every step of the way. So if you need to change a time of pick up, pack, and load, or you want to check on something, or you need anything along the way, there's a team that handles that for you, and you'll have their phone number, their name and their phone number, and their email address. So make sure that whoever you're working with does have an internal dedicated support team to handle any questions or changes or anything that comes up like that. Let's talk about visual surveys. It's really almost impossible for me or anyone to really quote you on a particular move, on a shipment, without understanding exactly what your needs are and what you're going to be shipping. So I want to know, exactly what the volume is. I want to know if you've got, some very delicate statue or artwork or glass tabletop or glass beautiful curio cabinet or, things of that nature that are going to require some extra protection. We really need to understand the entire job in order to quote it and make sure that it's also going to be taken care of the right way. So to do that, we do in-person surveys when possible. Or we can do virtual surveys in the form of a FaceTime or a Zoom, and that way really can answer any question that you might have along the way and see everything and really understand the move. That's critically important. Now let's talk about the bad side of the coin. Things that, if it were me, I would be looking out for. These would be red flags for me in a potential company to move my goods to Mexico or to anywhere. First of all, whenever a company is talking about weight instead of volume, I'm only going to talk about volume, unless it's a big floor safe or something like that I need to know if it's 700 pounds. Yes, but weight doesn't matter in moving, except for that safe I just mentioned. What's most important, what's really truly important, is the volume. I want to know how much space is being occupied by your goods in the truck. That's how I'm going to price it out. Or if it's going ocean, we do some shipping to Mexico by way of ocean. Sometimes I'll ship something to Veracruz and clear customs and bring it in. But for the most part, I just want to know what the volume is. And a company that's asking about weight and keeps reverting back to weight, pounds, kilograms, that is a red flag to me immediately that this is a broker who's going to be contracting the coordinating the shipment by way of commercial carrier, not a moving company. It's probably not a moving company. The truck that's going to ship your goods down is not a moving truck, which is really important because the roads in Mexico, as you are probably aware, are not always super smooth. So it needs to be a moving company that's moving your goods, and a moving company shouldn't be asking about weight. I know that every cubic foot on average is going to end up averaging about 6.5 pounds per cubic foot. I know that, so I don't need to, but if someone's talking about weight, that's a red flag. Next, a true moving company like STC versus a broker. A broker is a company that is just a website, and they might call you and tell you that they can handle things and give you a quote, but they're just going to go and hire somebody else, and you don't know who that is, to do some or all the job perhaps, and that company might also then subcontract to who knows who. By doing that, the client, you don't know who you're really working with. You've just got a broker that is going to hire somebody else out. You don't know what kind of truck they're going to use. You don't know. And also, the other downside of that is when you place a call to get some information about your move, you're not talking to the mover. You're talking to someone who has to then call somebody else. And that person might need to call someone else. So make sure that my point is, make sure that you're working with a company that is truly a bona fide, legitimate moving company like STC International Shipping. Bait and switch. This one, unfortunately, I have to mention. You can Google it. You can Google international shipping, international moving, bait and switch type things. This is where a company will come in and just quote you a low price. And sometimes that low price isn't legitimate. It is not realistic. And you won't know this necessarily until the day before or the day of pickup, pack, load, or even worse, after. That's where you get the surprise invoice because there's certain things they didn't know. So the price that they gave you wasn't real. This happens more than you might want to think. So I would say that beware of the bait and switch. Make sure that you're working with a legitimate company. You got a good feeling. You got the good reviews, and also that you are receiving a quote in the form of a professional proposal that really spells everything out, everything that the company does, everything that they don't do, etc. So that's all I'll say on bait and switch. Final word is on deposits, upfront monetary deposits. I would be cautious if any company were to ask for an upfront monetary deposit. STC, we do not require money up front. Is a credit card authorization as security acceptable? I think it is. I think it's acceptable. But the company should not be charging the credit card up front. The company should not be placing a hold on the credit card up front. That's just a security deposit for some very, very rare unforeseen situation. But money deposits up front, that would be a big red flag for me. So hopefully this has been very helpful to you, and I will see you in the next segment.